All right, Connor, we are
Okay.
live.
Okay.
So let's hope the audience can hear us well.
Yeah, well,
Um,
we have to trust that it can. Yes. Hello, everybody. It's Conor here from Ireland, west of Ireland. So it's nice to be here. Nice to meet Zach.
all right, yeah, this is so we are kicking off our artist and brand series where we show kind of the behind the scenes or share the story behind the artwork or the brand, and we're able to get a glimpse of the mastermind behind whatever the product is. So my name is Zach Atkins. I'm the director general for strategic operations at Galileo Protocol, and I'm excited today to get to share with the audience. It's kind of fun. So this is our first time doing these video calls, and so I'm getting to watch the viewers kind of stream in, and so it's a lot of fun. But I wanted to introduce Conor McGuire, who's one of our featured artists on the marketplace, and we're going to dig a little bit into the story behind the art, but also the artist and kind of background. So, Connor, you just gave like a real quick intro. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little
Uh,
bit more in depth, and
okay.
kind of journey as an artist.
Journey as an artist. Well, can I separate the journey as an artist from my journey as a person? I don't think I can. The distinction is probably a little bit blurred. But I've always drawn and painted since I was a young kid. I had an aunt who was very into art and used to do stained glass windows and portraits and stuff. And she had a little studio, and I sort of became fascinated, if you like, and spent a lot of time there. And sort of I don't think by it wasn't intentional that she was going to give me tuition, but I suppose I soaked it up by osmosis. It was just in the air, in the atmosphere. I think a lot of people would be like that when they enter into an adult environment. That could be music, it could be literature. They pick it up. You often find it really, really good second generation artists because it's like they've soaked it up from a very young age. So I was fortunate to have that, and so I kind of she fostered it, and my parents didn't oppose it. So I was sort of let do my own thing, and which was unusual at the time because art was looked on, especially in country areas, as you'd never make a living out of it, or there's no future. That was the kind of you'd often get that in more conservative places. But my parents kind of didn't fall into that. They just sort of were happy to see me doing something I liked, and so naturally, I applied for art college and went to the College of Art and Design in Dublin and studied there. And I sort of changed tack a little bit because I suppose I fell victim to practicality. I did drawing and painting and other things, but I qualified as a graphic designer. I wanted something to be able to make a living, and it was practical. So I've never regretted that, and to some extent it did distract. But when I was ready, I suppose 25 years ago, I kind of went more full time back to the art. Just the attraction was there as a more full time occupation and the stuff I wanted to do. So yeah, I entered back into it with the sort of innocence, if you like, and so I've always chosen to stay in the west of Ireland where I'm from because I love the landscape. I love the inspiration of the landscape, and the west of Ireland, the light in the west of Ireland is actually very famous. A lot of artists come there because the light is very pure and very changing. Like there's a lot of shifting clouds and light and like Paul Henry and would have he's a famous Irish artist actually located, and there's a lot of artists out in the hills in the country who do west of Ireland stuff, and there's a lot of sort of open air painting and open schools that specialize in kind of a west of Ireland look. So I'm very fortunate. I live in a very picturesque area, lakes and sea and landscape very nearby, and that's reflected in my work, which is still ongoing. I'm still developing and still doing stuff that's changes up as I go. So that's sort of an outline. I don't know, does that enlighten you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious what because we're at Galileo, we're on, I'd say, the forefront of like technology and kind of that
Mhm.
merging of art and
Yeah.
we you just briefly we were talking about NFTs and kind of that
Yes.
evolution.
Yes.
Back when you were in art school,
Yeah.
what were some of the like up and coming technologies, or what was like kind of
Well,
new age edgy back then?
there was no technology. It was traditional craft. So it went to extremes, I think, where you either had formal painting, drawing, etching, printmaking, to the sort of what was coming in at the time, which was very avant-garde, which was performance art. So, and that could be anything really. It was as daring or as outrageous as the artist could push it, but it wasn't technological in any sense, except that it might be videoed and recorded for posterity. If it was worth it, that's a matter. That's a matter of opinion. But there was a sort of a time, I think, with things like performance art, where there was a certain contempt for the craft, a certain disregard for the hard graft of the craft of painting, and having to go through the ardor, if you like, of learning a craft before you actually flowered into something that could use that as a springboard. And I think a lot of that was lost for a while, where the actual craft took a second seat to maybe shop value, and the needs of pandering to an audience maybe, and always the danger of pandering to if you like, trends where the money is. It's always a temptation. Uh, so yeah, I was a bit disenchanted, I have to say, but it was one of the reasons I took refuge, I think, in graphic design, because it was practical and objective, and you got a brief and you fulfilled that brief, and it was very ordered, and you knew what you were doing. Whereas the I found the new sort of avant-garde performance art and all that thing, where everything was being thrown up and torn up and almost anxiety inducing, because I couldn't I couldn't see where I would fit in. I'm not, so I sort of parked. That was one of the reasons, to be honest, that I did park art for quite a while. And it wasn't until I suppose I married and settled and were more secure in myself as an older guy, that I felt I could go back and approach it without having to apologize for going back to a craft.
Yeah, I think we everyone deals with that kind of conflict of if you're someone that has kind of a more um artistic mind, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
like, or you have a skill set that maybe isn't the traditional like career path, or the
yeah,
way
yeah,
to make a standard practical living,
yeah,
that kind of that uncertainty usually dissuades most people from uh
yeah,
you know
yeah,
taking on that challenge.
yeah.
So but sometimes it's fun to embrace the uncertainty. So
It is.
what was the kind of like pivotal point where you decided, hey, I need to pursue my art
Uh,
in a
I think that it's a
foremost
very,
capacity?
it's a very underestimated, because it's painted in a negative light, but actually it's again a springboard. Boredom. You get bored with something. You get very bored with doing something that's predictable. That is, if it's handled properly, and you kind of look at it objectively, you kind of look at it and say, why am I bored? I am bored, and acknowledge it, and I need to shake things up. And so boredom was the biggest catalyst for me. Strangely, maybe you could, if that makes sense to you. I just got very bored doing what I was doing, and I wanted to do something else. And yeah, that was. it's a horrible boredom, and not being stimulated is one. If you're in a job, and both are there, you dread going in and you dread the day. And instead of looking forward to work, it becomes tedious. So tedium and boredom doing something that had become repetitive was probably for me. Looking back, what made me strike out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's a phrase somewhere,
Mhm.
out there that's, the discomfort of being in your current situation has to outweigh the
Yeah,
discomfort of,
yeah,
of the change.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm curious um, with that break,
Mhm.
did your artwork change or evolve from what it was initially when you were first,
Yeah,
becoming an artist
yeah,
to what
yeah.
it is now?
Very much, yeah. There was a point where I was doing an exhibition. I'd taken on an exhibition in Galway, and it was Hazel Hendy, great woman. If she's watching, I doubt she is, but she went to do other things. But she was just a very inspiring person. She had a gallery in the middle of Galway, in just off Shop Street. She eventually had to close it because the taxes were too much. But she had a big space, and I went into her and I was talking with her and showed her some work, and she said, yeah, I'd like to, work with you. And she says, go off and do some stuff, maybe Galway based. So I themed the whole exhibition about from Clare to Galway. So I did a kind of a work that reflected Galway coast down to Clare. It's all very scenic. And I brought in my first piece, and she looked at it and she kind of looked and said, throw away the small brushes. She said, stop with the small brushes, let the paint do the work, and come back to me when just loosen up. Because naturally I was I was feeling my way. So that's exactly what I did. I threw away the small brushes and started to work sort of in pasto, quicker, with broader brushes and thicker paint, more impressionistic. And I think it was I did a scene. It's a beautiful old church in Galway, a medieval church, St. Nicholas's Church. And I just did the spire from a rooftop from a building adjacent, very near the gallery, and very loose, very painterly, if you like. No small brushes, except maybe at the very end, just a little brush to highlight something. And I brought that back into it. I said, yeah, oh yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And go away, do more. So yeah, I did, and it was a real success. I sold a lot. I got loads of publicity, and we packed it out. And so yeah, I never looked back to the small brush.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm gonna show, your
Yeah.
artwork off in a little bit.
Okay.
I've got there's so many directions that we could
Yes.
go with the
Okay.
discussion, but I'd like to, get into first because you mentioned exhibitions. We'll
Mhm.
get into that in just a second, but I'd like uh to learn what drew you to landscape and to the form of artwork that you're in now. Is it, you know, you would walk the coast and just,
Yeah, well, I live on it.
enjoy painting what you see,
Yeah,
or
I live on it. So I live on the coast, and I live in the country. Even where I'm living, I'm outside my. I'm not my. I'm in where the town my wife is from, but I'm on the outskirts, and I have fields all around me and mountains. So I'm immersed in it, if you like, and so it's part of me. It's not a matter of having to go looking for inspiration. I'm being fed constantly, if you like. So it's very. I could take it for granted quite easily. And actually, one of the things that happens when you go back to painting is that you start to see again, because your eyes are looking, not consciously, but you're taking stuff in and you say, "Oh, that would be nice for painting," and so you're sort of um, you do it anyway, and I'm lucky as I am in a very beautiful area. I'm only, I grew up 8 miles from the sea, and now where I am. I'm only another 20-minute drive, and we go and stay by the seaside. And the Atlantic coast, what it's called the Wild Atlantic Way, is very spectacular, with wide open ocean views, and dramatic waves and dramatic cliffs, everything tumbling down to the sea. So it's always changing, and that lovely West of Ireland light, that's always changing, with clouds floating over and the light sparkling and coming in and out. Very hard to capture, so you have to kind of reimagine it. but yeah, that's my inspiration. Yeah, yeah. I'm in it. I'm in the landscape.
Yeah. Do you have a specific like is time of day that you like to paint? Is there like
I'd
uh
say it's more. I'd say it's more time of year.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of mixed up. I do other things, but I still do some design work, and I write a bit as well. I do a bit of writing, so um, it'll be more when the days are longer and
Mm,
the light can be. The days can be quite long in the west of Ireland. It mightn't get dark till 10:30 at night, and
mhm,
the light is very slow to ease away. It's not like on the continent. I know I'm always amazed at how quickly the sun goes down. It's like 40 minutes, it's just down.
mhm,
And there's no, whereas in Ireland, there's this long lead into and you get that lovely extended golden hour where everything gets sort of luminous, you know.
mhm.
So yeah, I'd work more during the summer and the brighter
And
days.
yeah, and these might sound like very simple, basic
Oh no,
questions,
they're
but
not.
I
No, no.
always like to learn about kind of
Yeah,
like the nuances with each artist, or
yeah.
like I said, if it's a brand. Do you take the canvas outside and are you observing what you're
Yeah.
painting
No,
while you're doing it, or what does
I'd
that
more
look?
take a sketchbook and a camera and do it. And I did go through a phase of going outdoors and the rain just and the wind, and it was like everything was scattered everywhere, and you're rushing, running against time, and you can't oils don't dry that quickly, but also the rain would get on it and it starts to And the other thing I find, you might find this strange when I'm out painting. If there's any kind of people around, you're very non-intimidating when you're painting outdoors. So for some reason, people feel they can come up and sit down and start talking to you. It's just people do activities, but there's something, and it's lovely about somebody painting outdoors. It draws people in, and rather than respect your space, and you have to understand that they will engage with you, and you feel like, well, yeah, I don't mind you being there, but I'm actually have to concentrate on what I'm doing, and people are very it's a very benign looking activity, and
Mhm.
it draws people in. And that's what I've often thought about. If I was digging a hole or digging a trench, nobody's going to stop and talk to me. I don't
Mhm.
mean that in any elitist way, but it's just the activity of painting draws people in. So you have to be able to deal with that too, the distraction, and even the animals will get curious.
Yeah, that's a
Cows.
good point. Things you don't think about if you're
Yeah,
not an
yeah,
artist
yeah.
and
So I
and
tend to
animals.
sketch from the car or sketch something, and then I take reference pictures and go back to the studio. And the references there, I'd always have to. My best tool is exaggeration. Really exaggerate the colors and exaggerate the forms and
Mhm.
exaggerate the take. But yeah, you pick up all these things as you go along. Not as. But yeah, I enjoyed it when I did it. But the changeable weather in Ireland mitigates against.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to become an abstract artist if you're dealing with
Yeah, yeah,
the raindrops on the
absolutely, yeah,
canvas. It
yeah,
it
yeah,
it shifts from landscape to abstract real quick. So,
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And with
um,
the change in, it's not with the change in light as well. The subject will change very, very quickly. No, but it's its own genre, if you like.
yeah, no, that's very cool. Um, appreciate, the insight, and hopefully, the audience can get a glimpse into,
Yeah.
the what's this is how the art is made. This is what goes into that creative process.
I'm much more studio based. I
Mhm.
have the upstairs of my house as a studio. So it
Oh, very cool.
goes across the into the house with skylights facing out onto the sky. So that works for me, and I like the privacy of it. Uh, I have no problem being alone for hours. I
Mhm.
like my socializing too. And so the mix is important. But yeah, the solitary activity. I quite like it.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
get very wrapped up in your own space.
Yeah, for sure. So, you mentioned exhibitions.
Mm.
What sort of history do you have with um, putting your art in a gallery or an
Yeah, yeah.
exhibition, and kind of what does that process look like?
Well, I've done solo exhibitions, and the last one I did was a joint exhibition with another fellow artist from the area. He'd be a well known a landscape artist, more in the traditional vein of the more real Liam Jones. Liam, you can look him up, lovely guy, and he was putting on an exhibition, and he had a huge space, and he sort of rang me up and said, would you be interested in doing a joint exhibition? And it was in my hometown, so it was the place where I would put my work as well, if it was related to my home, Caffrey's Gallery, and they put up a lovely exhibition of a huge, all white, very plain, very simple, and that was very successful as well. And it was a nice mix to do it with somebody else instead of going solo, and it drew in more people, if you like, because it covered more, more tastes. And it's always lovely to have a social event too. You have a lovely opening evening, and lots of people come that you might have lost touch with, and you get feedback, and you get commissions, and you get sales. And so, it's you have to do it to get out there, but that's changing as well, as I've been kind of touched on. Things have gone hugely online, and the whole art world is shifting to somewhere else. It's unnerving in a way, and I'm sure a lot of any gallery owners watching are probably nodding their heads or touching because it affects them. But there is, I suppose one of the things that's happening is artists are taking the reins back and not going through galleries. That's one thing that's so because the commissions and they have their big overheads, of course, so their commissions are justified. But if I'm looking at putting a work in to a gallery and 40% is going on the gallery commission, it's certainly more interesting to me if I can find a way to sell it online without an intermediary. And that's not, the galleries have their place, but that is that's what's happening. And then you'll also have the thing, you'll have one piece of work and you might have it in multiple spaces. You might have it in the gallery and you might have it online. So there's all that. So you have to be very careful that the price reflects, one price reflects the other, and you can't have two price ranges, even though 40% of the one in the gallery is going to the gallery, and it might be framed. The one online might be selling, but you can't sell it because you're undercutting the gallery. So it raises these issues of money and streamlining and not competing with yourself, I suppose, or competing with your gallery. And then, of course, there's prints online that are huge. And then there's the boogeyman for a lot of artists, including myself now, is the advent of AI, which is just getting better and better, and it's scary. And where there was one artist, or it was some profession that was being threatened by AI. And the phrase, I thought it was a good phrase, says your AI won't take your job. The person who knows AI will.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I thought, that's sharp. So where does real art stop and AI begin, or do they blend? Because you already have artists who are specializing in AI. You see it online, and artists who are AI competitions. So it's all in flux. So it's a scary place.
Yeah. And so I want to get into the kind of new dynamics surrounding art, but also when it comes to like valuations, how do artists typically go about, in your experience, how do artists typically go about placing like a dollar amount on a physical item?
There's multiple factors. There's your time, obviously, and materials, and size of the painting, and so you kind of try and keep an idea of the time you put in on a piece. And it might be just with the canvas itself. It might be that you've done several versions, or researched the actual scene before you actually came up with the finished piece, and you factor that in. Then, of course, there's your reputation, whether you're established or not, or whether people are willing to pay because they know you're either bankable or that your reputation goes before you, and that's why you have exhibitions and those kind of things. Um, and then of course there's the desire for something beautiful, and if the painting resonates, and that's very often what happens, is somebody sees something and they go, oh God, I was in Ireland and that's just how I remember it. So if the piece resonates with somebody and they want it, they'll pay for it, and they don't mind, depending on their means, naturally. But generally, yeah, if it resonates and it's sort of they can picture it in their home, or picture it fulfills some sort of idea they had of Ireland, or some romantic memory or a family memory. That's if you like, a hook to selling. But the other side of that is I've talked to this with gallery owners as well. You very quickly know if somebody's going to buy. You'll get the person who will gush over something, and say, "Oh, I love this," and they'll do a big display of loving something. And if you don't pin them down there and then, they'll go out the door and you'll never see them again. And yeah, the genuine buyer will come. Will come back and keep coming back and viewing it, and might be doing a bit of research, and that when they keep coming back, they're hooked in. They want the piece, and you might do a little bit of wheeling and dealing too, depending on their means. But yeah, there's multiple factors, and then of course, is your art trending? Is what you're doing on trend? And that raises that other question: do you change to fit trends, or do you just keep doing what you're doing? So yeah. There's no room for complacency.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we, I had a question, a follow-up question. I just blanked out on it.
It's okay.
So we can shift
I overtalked.
to kind of the future of artwork, and get into, you talk about AI, and kind of how it's becoming maybe a replacement for typical art sales. And you have people that can present themselves as maybe an artist that aren't
Yeah,
actually, you know
without ever having.
yeah, they don't have the tenure and the expertise that goes
Yeah, yeah.
with being, an experienced artist.
Okay.
How do you see the uh like up and coming technologies, for instance, like what we're doing with Galileo? Maybe what drew you to the
Yeah,
marketplace, and what sparked your curiosity for
yeah, yeah.
this
Well,
type of technology?
yeah, it was kind of an answer to curiosity, because I was looking at. I have several sites where I have an account and I sell prints. At I won't say what they are, but they sell prints to me principally in America and Europe. And this is when we were talking about somebody who wouldn't necessarily have a moderator that would sort of refuse art, or say, that's not what we're doing. So I have about, on this particular site, I have nearly 300 paintings, which took me about 12 years to gather together as a body of work that people go to, and they're all of Ireland, most of Irish scenes, and we're selling really well. I'd sell several a month, and it's small money, but it adds up. And I noticed the sales dropping dramatically. And I sort of went back into the site, and I started researching, and I saw all these new artists that were suddenly up, and they had 200 works of art up in a week. And they were quite good. To the eye, they're good. The AI can do a really presentable. If you don't, I spotted it a mile away, but at the same time, the ordinary person. So that's what I was competing with. So if you're going in, there's thousands of artists and stuff, and you're looking stuff, and you can't discern what's AI and what's genuinely photographed from a physical painting. You probably have an idea in mind, and it probably comes down to the fact that for people buying stuff like that online, they're looking for something decorative. They're not that interested in the process or it's a reproduction, and it has probably a decorative function in a home or an office. So that's what they want. So if AI can produce something and it's the right color, the right size, and hitting the right note, they'll buy it. So that kind of spooked me a little, and it does. To think that I could be that long putting stuff up, and somebody can just beat me to it in a week without any of the graft.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah,
that's a whole other debate,
yeah. So I remembered my previous question. It was going to be about the buyer profiles, kind of what your typical client is, who what's the demographic of people that buy your artwork. Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Well, you get obviously some people who just love art and collect art. They're a gift, because they will love your work, and I was several that would continually come back to me for stuff and buy it because they just like the work, and you develop a relationship that way. Then there's the sentimental buyer, the one that, like I was talking about, they might have a connection to Ireland, or had a holiday in the West, or come from the West, or have an ancestor from the West of Ireland. So they want some token of Ireland, and they want something on an Irish theme to remind them of home, or that they can sort of have as a keepsake. Then you'll get the person who might commission something, and might go in and look at that and go, it's not exactly what I want, but could you do something? And yeah. So we can work on a joint project of doing something specifically to size or what they want, subject matter. And then you get the random buyer. Just takes a notion. Just I came into a bit of money and decide that I'm going to treat myself to a painting, or it could be somebody buying a gift. And then there's, I suppose, the other one, which is the investor, that they're looking to put their money on a good art horse that they hope will keep its value, or go up in value, and that it will be a good investment. So whether it's necessarily for the love of art, or just for they're canny and they know what to do with their money. So any number of those things will feed into somebody buying something.
Yeah, I was in a gallery this past weekend, and was just asking kind of similar questions about the typical buyers, and it's interesting. They said that they'll get the one off that they come in, they're like, okay, I like that. They're like, I have 5,000 to 10,000 to spend on a piece of art. I really like this. I want to buy it. And then they'll have the others that they come into the gallery, and they're, hey, I want to, like, they don't even worry about the price. They're like, I like that one, that one, that one. We want to, put that in the house. So it's interesting that and those are the types of probably buyers that have more of that appreciation for like the physical artwork, and kind of, I say this, in this word has a negative connotation, but I mean it in a positive sense, but kind of like a snotty, like snooty perspective on where, like, almost like an elitist type mentality, where I want the actual, like, physical art. I want the authentic thing that comes from, the artist that I can see the brush strokes on. And so
a little bit of a status symbol in it, that you have an original piece, and even better that you have an original piece from a name that's trending, or people will say, oh really, it's there's that. I don't know, does the artist really work from that perspective? I think it would maybe, I don't know, I don't.
I mean, the investment side of things is also very interesting. So it's a good mixture of people that they appreciate and value the art, but then there's
have the
also
money
the
to back it up,
combination.
and they're not going to haggle with you, and it's they're rare. I find that ones that are just say, I love it, so I don't care, just whatever you price, and that's like being appreciated way beyond, and those are rare. I mean, in most jobs it's rare. Most activities, from your boss to your client, everybody's going to haggle. It's the nature of most transactions. You're going to look for a discount somewhere. So to get somebody that's so enthused that they're not even going to question your prices, it's a lovely compliment, but rare.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's not
It's,
the common buyer, but
which is,
um,
is is also the function of a gallery to
mhm,
to 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 um to tap you into that market, and that's the very important part of the gallery, and then to bring the right clients and to have the front to be able to demand that premium price and negotiate without you having to, and and a lot of artists that mightn't be their strong point.
mhm.
Whereas a hard-nosed gallery owner with experience will get the price that's deserved, and
Yeah,
it work
absolutely.
or while. So that's a very good, important to say that about galleries, that they will promote and get value for the
Mhm.
artists. So they have they're very their loss would be in terms of visibility, and the viability for the artist would be enormous.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, with your artwork being on, the Galileo Marketplace, you now
Hmm.
have a PNFT associated with the physical art.
Yes.
How do you, envision that? I gue I guess I'll ask it in a different way than I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
gonna go.
Yeah.
With, do you experience a lot of, let's say, imposters that they see Conor McGuire artwork and then
Yeah.
they want to replicate it? And is that a
Oh,
market that you have to tackle basically?
maybe I'm innocent. I don't know. Maybe about how do you research such a thing? But no, I haven't had that phenomena. I might have, where I would discover a painting has been lifted and used on a book cover, or used in some other publication, and that's very
Mhm.
easily just send off a stern email, and usually it's just, you get it very. They didn't usually do it on purpose. They just didn't think twice. They sort of
Mhm.
lifted it, and they liked it, and they put it in a book cover or something. And I said, well, they're fine. Just give me an acknowledgement on your website. I'd say, that's not been. But yeah, to actually lift stuff, and no, it hasn't happened. If it has, I'm unaware of it.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, things have tightened up a lot, I think, in terms of legal protection in that area internationally. So you do it, I think, at your own peril.
Mhm.
But no, no, it hasn't been. I haven't been thrown into a rage. Somebody doing something outrageous.
Yeah.
No, 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 it hasn't. So yeah, well, touch wood. I won't touch wood, but maybe you've alerted me. Maybe I'll go searching. But yeah, you will. Your work will turn up places, sort of, but they're usually, I find, sort of innocent enough. You know.
Yeah, well, I think that if you do encounter that problem, at least now that you have some artwork, you've got a PNFT that,
Yes.
provides that authentication,
Yeah.
will hopefully nip that in the bud if if
Yeah.
it maybe was a problem you didn't know was
Yeah,
there,
yeah, but that's it. I'm not
hopefully
going
we
to.
can
I'm not going to
prevent it.
look for a problem if I don't know about it. So now maybe I'll start searching.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, when I was talking there about the whole AI and the way everything was being thrown into the air, and verification and knowing who's who, who's a real. So then Galileo, came under my radar, and I thought that's very interesting. That's a different approach, and so I researched it, and we went into discussion, and I thought, yeah, yeah, I'm going to. This is genuine. This is maybe an extra layer on my authenticity and on my value, and a way to reassure clients that something holds its value, and is authenticated. Yeah, so it was a no brainer, really,
What
for me.
what does the, when, someone buys your artwork, what is the, what sort of verification do you
Uh,
provide
I
to the
I do
buyer
a
currently?
certificate, a handwritten certificate of
Okay.
authentication. So I'd have a standard sort of certificate, and I'd sign out the date, the dimensions, a little bit about the work, and then sign it.
Mhm. Okay.
And they get that. Uh, and so that's, yeah, but that's not watertight, obviously, either.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. but I hope this Galileo is the one that's going to make that difference, and
Mhm.
maybe be a bit preemptive in foreseeing how this is going to be more of a problem ongoing. And so you've secured a sort of a very good position to be the one to address it, ongoing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that the people that buy your artwork, it can be tedious to keep track of a piece of paper,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah,
now at least the artwork that is on the marketplace, someone
mm,
buys, they now have that certificate not only in a digital format that is, let's say easier to store, but it's
yes,
also stamped on the blockchain so that
yeah,
they no one
yeah, yeah,
without
yeah.
proper
Access.
verification, which would
Yeah,
be you or or us, would be able to update
interfere.
any of
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
condition of the asset. So,
yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, no, despite the I know you've portrayed more of an old school nature. It's encouraging and exciting that you were able to take that step in seeing what could be and
yeah,
you know providing some artwork for the marketplace and
yeah.
taking that leap, because I know that that shift, I'm sure, is not the
Yeah, I
easiest,
still
but
when I sorry, when I look at some of the your videos on YouTube and that, and you're talking in your own professional speak, if you like, it just goes over me. I just said, what are they talking about? They're all talking about I barely get Bitcoin. That's been honest. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then you're talking about all these other blockchain and all the, and then you're we have this new facility. You can now buy this, and I'm going, I haven't a clue what they're talking about.
And
Except it
to be
answered my need.
yeah. Well, to be honest, that's the case. I think one of the problems within the whole blockchain industry
Yeah.
is that it's very easy to get into tech jargon
Yes.
and
Yeah.
use big
Yeah.
words that sound
Yeah. Yeah.
extravagant.
Yeah.
And it's all like, for us,
Define.
it's
Yeah.
about refining that
Yeah.
content and you know
Mm.
communicating in a way that is
Well, it's
understood.
to normalize it, and so that people would have it in their daily lives or their ways of doing transactions or their finances without being intimidated by it, and that it will become the norm rather than something out there, and yeah, so yeah, that's your baby to simplify.
Well,
and
yeah,
and
the idea is that you don't have to worry about that side of
yeah,
things
yeah,
because
yeah,
we'll
I
take
know that.
care of
Yeah,
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 we'll take care of the technical jargon and implementation,
yeah,
and then you can, hopefully benefit from that.
yeah. Well, that's
So
yeah.
I want to get into I want to display some of the art in just
Okay,
a second and maybe talk about like one or two pieces. Um,
okay.
but
Hopefully, they speak for themselves as well.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's we on for us, we can see traffic through the website, we can see kind of where what people are viewing and whatnot, but you still don't know, like, okay, art's
Okay.
one of those things, and you and I discussed right before we got on the call. It's There'll be a piece that resonates with you,
Yeah.
there'll be a piece that doesn't, but sometimes the story behind a piece is something that when you have
Mm.
that epiphany, you're like, I need to look at more into this, into
Yeah. Yeah.
this piece of artwork.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to do that now.
Surprise me.
I'm gonna pull up our let's see. There we go. Can we see it? All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So let's see. Like, for instance, the when we talk about being drawn to artwork,
Mm.
like this specific, the seagulls.
Mm.
Oh, let's see. I'm gonna see if I can pull up the. Oh, it's not gonna show me the tile.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
this the seagulls. This one on the upper
Yeah.
left. Um, I'd love to learn a little bit more about that piece.
Okay. Well, it's these four pieces are reimagined, whereas the other pieces are actual scenes. Can I put it that way?
Sure. Yeah.
They're recent for the top there. They're all cliff scenes and rock scenes and sea scenes, and they're very much based on the cliffs that are near my home, and right down to Clare, where you actually get the famous Cliffs of Moher. But I didn't want to be literal with this. I wanted to go a little more abstract and let the imagination. And my other favorite tool is to exaggerate. You know, you like quality in something, and your best tool as an artist is to exaggerate either color or form. So yeah, these are my imaginings or reimaginings of my the coastline near my home place. So you'll see very high cliffs and lots of clouds, which you'll always have, and then you get these dramatic slow sunsets where you will get all that you know, you won't believe it, but yeah, I've seen those colors in the sky. You know, when you get rose and you get orange and bright yellows and right down to pinks and burning colors, and especially where you have a lot of clouds and sun mixing or moisture in the air, you get these intense mixes of color. The first one, the seagulls, yeah, that's pretty much how, you know, in my imagination, I'd see the coastline up further north, up near Enniscrone, which would be kind of Sligo, and then up towards Donegal. You get, and even Achill, which is near me, Achill Island. You might know Achill Island from it's been in a lot of recent films with Irish actors Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell. You get these sweeping coastlines, and you get a lot of very dark. We don't get lovely sandy coloured rocks in Ireland. We get very dark and often very deep colors and very jagged, and you get these breakers coming in and thrashing over the rocks, and typically you'll get a lot of you know, clouds sweeping over, and yeah, so very energized. You know, the coastline is very energetic. You feel, you know, when you're in the west of Ireland, because we're right on the Atlantic, so the full force of the Atlantic breeze is coming in uninterrupted from the Atlantic. You get a very powerful swirl and fresh breeze, and yeah, it can be wonderful for a walk if you want to clear your head. And the other ones, yeah, let me see. The burnt orange, that was, you will see that kind of intense sunset. Rare enough, you know, you might get it 3 or 4 times. You won't get them for a full week. You get just the right combination of atmosphere and moisture and cloud, and you get these intense sunsets. And they can vary from, as I say, the deep oranges to even the rose madder or pink. That's the nearest I could describe it. It's a natural oil color, so I use the name. Will I keep going?
You know, let's I'm curious, which of these is your favorite and why?
Which one is my favorite and why? Oh yeah. Well,
I know it's like picking your favorite child, right?
um,
I think we lost you for a second. It's the screen's paused.
I
So
don't
it
know.
might be on my.
Yeah, yeah,
There
you
we
went.
go. Okay, we got you back.
Yeah, no problem. I'm very fond of sailboats as well, and there's a particular traditional sailboat in Ireland and in Galway. It's called the Galway hooker, and it's traditional fishing sailboat, a beautiful boat, and whatever way they do the canvas sails and dye them and cure them, or they are a bright orange, and you can see these two here. They are the hooker is a very tall sail and then a smaller sail for directing it, and it has a black hull, a very distinctive black hull, and you'll see them coming in and out of Galway, and they're the the contrast of the black and the orange against the blue and the blue sky and the blue water is so dramatic. I've done lots of these, and yeah, as a subject, I love it. And you also get that because it's on the water, you get the double reflection. You know, so you get everything's multiplied. You can bring the color of the sail down into the water, so you get all this play of light. Uh, so yeah, I love that subject matter, and I have another one here, the top right. You can see I just said that's Galway, the city, the port, and you can see just a little boat, the boat coming in, or I think it's leaving. Yeah, so yeah, that would be my subject matter. I just love that the Galway hooker. It's just something very joyful about it, you know. and
Yeah,
maybe
I love the colors. I love the
yeah,
color, the
yeah,
the orange and the
yeah.
blue.
It's a very dramatic. It's a deep orange. It's not even a light orange. It's like almost just off red. It just could be nearly red if you got it in the right light, and sometimes it does, and it can change even to a sort of a almost like a purpley tint in it. And it's a lovely subject to and lovely to watch it too. If you ever in Ireland and go to the hookah races, they're dramatic. You know,
Mm,
there's a whole subculture there, people that keep it going. You know,
yeah.
um, and
We'll
maybe
have
the
to do a Galileo field trip to watch
you
the
better
Galileo
choose your
hookers.
day carefully. Yeah, yeah, make sure that they're out on the water. I'd hate to bring you into the water, edge and no boats. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the others are well, they're all west of Ireland. There's a here one called Curran Pier, and you can see that it's a white. You
Mhm,
can see there. That's very near me. It's the Achill Island, and it's the largest island off Ireland, but it's a favorite haunt for painters. It's the most idyllic, little side roads and all cliffs and piers and inlets, and it's very beautiful place. Very touched by the 20th century, if you like.
mhm,
Um, 21st century. I'm nearly out of century, and that Curran is sort of on the. You go into the island and you go west, and it'll be just completely abandoned. This pier and this beautiful house, and with boat. You know, there's a few boats, but you'd walk there, you'd be completely on your own. You know. Uh,
mhm,
just and at that particular day it was beautiful weather um, and the water at that time of year. Then you could swim as well, go back in for a swim, and
mhm.
it's idyllic on a good day. On then of course on a wet day, because it's right on the Atlantic, the cloud cover would nearly come right down, and you'd only see a few hundred yards in front of you. So
Mhm.
yeah, you can be very lucky or very unlucky, you know. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and for the audience, all of these are on. I'm literally showing the Galileo Marketplace. So,
okay.
if you see one that resonates with you, then well, now you have this to accompany it, and the kind of like behind the scenes of the artist
Mm,
journey and kind of what goes into the artwork. Um, so I'd encourage anyone watching to check that out on the marketplace. It will come with a PNFT, so you have that certificate of authentication that's stamped on the blockchain that says this is an authentic Conor McGuire painting. So are all of these one of ones, or do you usually do like multiple of the same painting, or what does that look like?
no, they'd all be originals.
Okay.
Sometimes, and once off. And sometimes people would say, I love that. Could you do, and it might be sold, and say, can you do a version of it? And I said, well, I can. And the good thing about that is that if you have a particular size in mind, I think rather than just be stuck with the one size that I've done, maybe you'd like it a different size or format. But if I
Mhm.
did it, I change details. If you put them side by side, they're not the same painting, the same subject matter, but I'd mix it up so that they would have an original. But that's
Mhm.
mostly I just do once offs. Yeah, yeah. But I will repeat a subject matter, but not slavishly.
Sure.
It needs to be original, so that they have an original piece.
Yeah, so you could get if you're an audience member and you know want to check out, that's a one of one painting that
Yeah.
you could pick up. Very cool. And you know with our reach, you know it's tapping into I guess the long term vision for us is a global market where
Mm.
then someone in Asia sees a painting, and then you know they can now have a Conor McGuire painting in like shipped to Asia or the US. And
I've done it. I've
so
done
yeah,
it.
so there's some fun opportunities there.
Yeah.
We're coming up on we've got about 6 minutes until the top
Okay.
of the hour. Wanted to just give set aside any time for you to touch on any other like kind of valuable insights into Conor McGuire or the Galileo Marketplace, the future of art just kind of any sort of closing remarks that you might have.
Well, I'm hopeful with Galileo for the future. It has given me some control over, I suppose, a whole digital space and a changing art world that I could see running away from me, and that I didn't know where I fitted in. So it has given me, if you like, a certain peace of mind and an interest, and I can see where it's going. So yeah, it's been good that way for me. I'm not so freaked out about the rapid change in the marketplace. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm very happy to be involved and delighted to be involved, and I don't know what my expectations are going forward, but I'm in good hands, I think, and
Mhm.
you're it's a venture that I think will work for a lot of other artists when it's when you, if you like, solidify your place in the marketplace, which is what
Mhm.
we're about at the moment. I think it's all very new, as I say. Even though I'm involved from the beginning, I still find some of the jargon and technicality and fine details go over my head. So I'm
Yeah.
putting my trust in you, as you are in me, because you don't have my expertise. So it's an exchange of expertise, and hopefully it'll benefit all. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're in phase one of the marketplace, and so over the course of even the next month, there will be a lot of um,
yeah,
changes that will, or upgrades that will allow for you know easier purchasing, easier
yeah.
experience,
Yeah, I can
more
see that.
enhanced
Yeah,
user experience, and so
yeah,
yeah, we're both yeah, it's a
yeah.
mutual
Absolutely. Yeah, and
trust and
as it should be.
benefit, and
Yeah, as it should
um,
be. Yeah.
yeah, and we're grateful
I can see
to
that.
have you as an artist.
Yeah, I follow you. And when you put in new, I see you're developing new and offering new services and pushing things forward. So that's very reassuring. I get a regular update on what's happening. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm in a happy position at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and we're grateful to have you as someone represented on the marketplace, and
Okay.
it takes um, a level of foresight that most don't have to be able to see kind of
Yeah, yeah,
what the future will entail for artwork, and so yeah, we're from the rest of the Galileo team. We're grateful to have you as
yeah. Okay.
someone that's placed your trust in us, and it'll
Okay.
be fun to see the evolution. It's going to be
Yeah, yeah.
this
Yeah, no,
iteration of us growing
yeah,
together, and it'll
yeah,
be even fun to see uh, you know any sort of new artwork that you come up with that you want
yeah.
to list on the
I've
marketplace,
plenty.
and
I've plenty.
um, so
Yeah.
anyways, where can people go to find you? I know I don't think you have a Twitter account or any of the normal
I do
socials,
have a
but
Twitter. I'm just not a Twitter field, if you like. I actually one time did a course, and I'm diverting now. I did a course in media marketing, and I got the how to do all this stuff using all the different social media accounts and work at it. And I just looked at it and said, I can't do this.
it's a
I
lot.
cannot sit and just repost and repost and do this. I didn't have the patience to do it, and maybe not the patience or the mindset. So I just sort of I post stuff, but to actually sit down and repost and repost, and I see all this. Another thing with AI, you see where they can, oh yeah, AI all your internet marketing, and people are going to read the stuff that's made by other computers. I mean, why? That's my big question over why.
Mhm.
I can't justify doing an hour a day, even if it paid me in the end. It just I find it paralyzes me.
I yeah,
I'm
I
I'm
can
that way.
understand that. I'd say I'm probably more on the old school as well, as far as,
Yeah,
I do my best to
yeah,
engage with
yeah. I am on Twitter and I am on Facebook.
what's your Twitter handle? What can people go to like follow you and
uh,
um
on
you know
Instagram as well. I probably have to send them to you.
Okay.
Is that,
Well,
I,
what we can do is
yeah,
we'll post snippets and clips of this throughout the
yeah,
week, and we'll include your Twitter and Instagram,
yeah,
just places
yeah,
that people can find you and
yeah.
either
But
browse
generally,
browse your artwork or
if you
connect
just
with
look
you.
up my name, Conor McGuire Artist Ireland, you'll get me.
Absolutely.
It's kind of you get all the feeds. You just put Conor McGuire Artist Ireland. All that. It'll just the first couple of pages will be unfortunately all me.
Yeah, and then if you are curious about the artwork, and go
Yeah,
to app.galileoprotocol.io. And then just in closing, if you would like to follow, if you're watching this, you're not currently following our Twitter account, follow the Galileo Protocol Twitter. Check out our Telegram, Discord. That's also a place to connect with us, and then maybe even create a further connection with Connor. So,
okay,
Connor, it's been fun. I'm glad that I got to this is the first time we've ever
okay,
chatted.
hmm,
I'm glad that I got to meet you, and
okay,
we could talk about some artwork, and
yeah,
we're excited about
yeah,
the future. So thanks for
yeah.
joining us today and
Real
being
pleasure.
cutting your teeth on being the first of
Yeah, yeah,
our
yeah, yeah,
interview series,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's going to be a fun journey. But
That's good. That's good.
thanks for your time, and
Okay.
look forward to catching up a little bit further down the road.
Thank you, Zach, and thank you to all the team at Galileo for helping me out and being there. Okay.
Absolutely. Everyone, y'all have a great weekend as we're in Friday. So get excited for the weekend. And we'll be back. I think we have an interview next week with another brand. So tune
Okay.
in next week. But thanks, guys, for tuning in. And we'll be around in Telegram, Twitter, and Discord. So y'all take care. Have a great weekend.
Bye bye.
See you, Connor.
Bye bye. Bye bye.